Alright everybody, hello and welcome. As always, I'm Sean, this Uneducated Gamer. A little bit of a different series this time out. It is a game that I have played plenty of in the past, so I'm not completely uneducated on this one. It's Football Manager. For those of you that haven't played the game before, it's going to sound really boring when I describe it, but it's exactly as it says in the title. You take control of a football team and you manage it and you run the club, and unlike Pro Evo or FIFA or something like that, you don't actually control the players. You just come up really with more like the tactics and all that sort of thing. I know it sounds boring, but it is one of the most addictive games, I think, anywhere in the world. Something like 27 different divorces last year in the UK cited Football Manager as being part of the reason they were splitting up. It's that level of addictiveness. You really can't stop doing it. It's one of those games where you think, I'll play for 20 minutes, I'll go in there, I'll do a game or two, and before you know it, it's like 6 hours later and you don't really know. There's a lot of YouTube content for the game. I think there's an exciting save to be had somewhere in here. If it's this one, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to do what a lot of other players have done and try and take a team from the Conference South all the way up to the Premier League. We'll see if we can. Right, so here's my profile, Uneducated Gamer. I am going to keep him towards the top end of the spectrum here. You can decide if you're going to be a tactical or a tracksuit manager. It's a new feature for this year's game. I'm going to stick with tactical. Now, in previous versions of this game, I have actually gone to a team called Dover. Usually I went there because I thought their kit was cool. They used to have this awesome like yellow and green third kit as well. So a pink kit and a yellow and green kit was just as good as you were going to do. And then selfishly, last season, Dover went and got themselves promoted out of the division via the playoff position. So it means I've got to find a new team for this year. Having gone through all the teams, one of the cool kits I thought was Bromley. It's a very generic looking white home kit, but the red kit looks pretty cool too. And it's a night kit, which is always nice, rather than playing as some like, weird no-name kit that you can't buy online anywhere. Night kits are always fun. And also you have to look at the interface of this game kind of goes on the club's colours. So you don't really want to be staring at some ridiculous red and black combo like Hayes and Yedding or any, what's that, yellow and brown. Like that'd do my head in having a look at that screen for 10 hours a day. So I think a pretty basic white one's always nice. And there's an added bonus going Bromley in that they actually finished the season as champions this year. They went up in the real world with 77 points, so we can use that as a bit of a marker for our team. They have a very talented squad. To be honest with you, I will probably get rid of a majority of these players and bring my own in on the free transfer market. But it's cool that we have that sort of backup goal there, 77 points to get us up as champions. But we'll see how we go. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm not going to make you watch me go through all pre-season and everything. I'll skip ahead to the first game of the season and we'll go through a bunch of stuff then. So through the magic of editing, I'll see you again in a second. Ta-da! Hello and welcome back. We have skipped forward a few months now and we're at the first game of the season. Basically, I don't want this video to go for like an hour and a half or anything like that. I'm still learning how to edit videos and what the best way is for this particular series. So I am going to just go through everything from this one page on the individual day. We might as well start at the start. We'll go through the tactic that I've created. Now I have created one specifically for Bromley. I'm not going to use it, but it is the Bromley 4-4-2. Now, it's a very flat basic 4-4-2. I thought it would be good just to have the team playing a simple brand of football. So it's minimal instructions. And I really think that's the way that you should go if you're going to create your own series or do your own lower league management save. No more than 2 instructions for each player. And no more really than 6 instructions. However, having said that, I'm now going to go and do the complete opposite, and I'm going to play this ridiculous tactic that I was playing the other day with Manchester United. It's a Dutch 4-4-2, a Dutch 4-3-3. You can't save it as that, unfortunately, so it says it's 4-2-3-1, but it's a really complicated formation. There's a few different things with it, probably more instructions than I want to be doing, definitely more team instructions. But I had fun with it, and I think the team actually has some really talented wingers, so I just want to see how it goes. I don't expect them to be very good at it. You can see here they're pretty awkward with it still because it is very complex, but we've got some good players, so I'm going to see exactly how this one goes and take it from there. Might as well go through it now. We're going to play out with a goalkeeper with the defend instruction at the back. Their instructions are just to pass it shorter and keep the ball. I really just want them distributing to the fullbacks and starting our play from the wide areas. We've got 2 central defenders in the middle. You would usually have them just set to limited defender at a Conference South level, but like I said, I want to see what happens with this formation and test it out a little bit. They're just defensive instructions. I don't really want them doing anything in terms of like playing the ball. I've got them set to pass it shorter. Idea being they'll just play it forward to one of the midfielders here or one of the fullbacks out wide, and we can start from there. The fullbacks will have a very important partnership with the wingers, and as such they probably have the most instructions of any player. They're going to really be our outlet in the defensive area, so I want them staying in wide positions. I don't want them taking risky passes. Just keep the ball, be our outlet, start our transitions, and then there's some defensive ones in there as well. Still just set to the support duty though, you don't want to bombing on too far, particularly at this level. In the middle, we have a ball-winning midfielder and a deep line playmaker. The idea being that we have maybe a more limited player here, just aiming on winning the ball back as soon as possible. They don't have to be that good at passing, just good at tackling. And then over here, we'd have a deep line playmaker who's maybe a bit better in terms of distribution, but maybe not as good defensively. So the idea is that those two will work together and they will sort of look after each other's shortcomings. You know, the ball-winning midfielder defensively will cover the deep line playmaker without the ball a little bit, and the deep line playmaker can be the distributor to cover how poor the ball-winning midfielder is at passing. I think I said distributor a bit weird there. That's awesome. Look forward to putting that up on YouTube. The wingers, of course, I did mention briefly going through the fullbacks. That partnership will be very important. A lot of this formation's creativity comes from wide areas, though they are wingers with the attack function. They really have permission to bomb on as much as they want. I've got them set to shoot less often. I'd rather they look for a pass-first mentality there. I don't really want them cutting in and shooting every time down. It's a low percentage football at this level. However, once we do go up, I might change that a little bit and see how we go. We're going to play with a trequartista, which isn't one that I've used before. I actually found a player who I specifically think will be good at this. He is actually already an enganche, but I'm going to change it to trequartista just because I want him bombing forward a little bit more than he currently is. However, if it doesn't work out, we can go back to the 4-4-2 that I've discussed earlier. And really, the idea here is the trequartista will take advantage of the space in between the opposition's midfield and their defence, and hopefully playing alongside an advanced forward. That advanced forward would be pushing on as high as possible, making those centre-backs accountable, keeping their line as deep as he can, and creating space for the trequartista and the wingers to move into. That's the idea. I was flirting with the idea of making this a target man, but I think when you play with a target man, they tend to drop way too deep, and I really want him pushing their defensive line back as much as possible. And we actually have a really good advance forward, so we'll go with that. So that's it. That's the instructions and the team. Now, the other thing that I want to make note of, because I don't really see it a lot in other people's YouTube content, particularly with lower league management saves, is the important attributes column. It actually tells you for every individual role and instruction of any position exactly what the important attributes are, and they seem to go ignored a whole lot. So what I've done is I have created filters that we can use to bring up these important attributes for players. So if we go to our scouting page, I've created them for each of the roles of both formations, the 4-2-3-1, the Dutch 4-2-3-1 that I'm going to be using, and the Bromley 4-4-2, which I created, but I've thrown in the pile because I can't be bothered. So just an example, we use goalkeeper with the defend instruction. If we bring that up, I've set all of those key attributes to be 10. I think double figures for any player at this division is exceptional. And that's the way I would work it, is I would just sort of go 13 out of 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, here we go, 9. So if you were looking for a goalkeeper that's first team ready and has a lot of the key attributes for what you're, for the tactic that you're playing, Shane Higgs would be a good option. You know, he's a little bit older, so you wouldn't want to retain him too much, but you can see here he's got double figures for a lot of the stuff that you're looking for. Not the quickest in the world, but you don't really need your keeper to be. So he would be someone that you'd look at if you needed him, and that was exactly how I identified my transfer targets. First, what I did was I went through the squad and I went to each individual player and I highlighted their particular scores and things for the roles that we're looking for. So for goalkeeper defend, you can see here Seb Brown has 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 13 that we're after, but a lot of like 8s and 9s in there as well for a 24-year-old. So we decided to keep him over Alan Julian and Paul Agu, who we let go. And that was how I decided who was going to stay and who was going to go, and it helped me figure out exactly who we needed to bring in. If we go to our transfer history here, you can see all the players that I let go of. For whatever reason, the club just had 17 different right wingers. Deward Douglas, Joseph Dubois, Sam Long, all players that could play on that right-hand side of midfield. So we were going to get rid of them. We didn't need that many, and we still actually have another 3 players at the club at the moment that can play on as a right winger. So we got rid of them. Rob Swain, Ali Hussein and Pierre-Joseph Dubois all got picked up by Maidenhead. Everyone else just got free transfers. Not really any need to focus on them too much. Most of the defenders... Rob Swain was actually the club captain. I got rid of him because he's not quick enough. A lot of the teams that we come up against, they've just got a striker who has nothing but pace and finishing. Players like Lee Angol at Boreham Wood, Zane Banton at Hemel Hempstead. We'll talk about them further in future episodes. But they just seem to score bags of goals because they have pace and finishing and nothing else. So it's important not only to hold a deep defensive line, but also to have defenders there that can deal with the ball over the top. So I wanted to get people that are closer to double figures for pace and acceleration, which we have done. But that's why Rob Swain left. It's also why Bailey Dennis left. Jamie Slabber is a pretty decent player for this level. If you have played at this level before, you've definitely heard of him. He scores a whole bunch. But I got rid of him because, same sort of reasons, natural fitness 2, work rate 2. If someone's playing one out on their own up forward, as good as he would be as an aerial target, I don't think he's the player that we need. And also, he was on like £550 a week. We can better spend that money through other areas of the team. And we have done in some of the players that we've brought in. We brought in a few juniors that have been dropped from other teams. Daniel Day's an ex-Tottenham, I think it is, left back. Been out without football for over a year, but he'll be more than capable as a backup left back. Ishmaeli here was a Reading junior who got released. He'll be a backup trequartista for us, and he's still only 18, so they're on next to no money. James White's next Southampton goalkeeper. He'll be a backup in that role. Daniel Roberts looks like he'll be a very talented trequartista for us. He is already taught to be an enganche, so we'll bring him in for that role, but we'll go through that further. Kevin Malaga and Sam Sojo, both very talented central defenders. More suited to limited defender, but you can see here 9 pace, 9 acceleration, and what was Sam Sojo's? 10 pace, 9 acceleration. Like they're an upgrade on what we had in Rob Swain anyway. Al Bangura is a very good player for this level. He can play in the centre as both the ball-winning midfielder and the deep line playmaker, so that versatility is going to be great for us. Still only 26. He's a Sierra Leone international, but we threw a bit of money at him. So both he and Roberts will be key players to what we're doing this season. Nigel Seydoux on the right-hand side, we threw a little bit of money at him despite him only being 19. I think he's very good, really good physically, and probably still likely to improve a little bit only being 19. And the right back that we had I didn't think was quite up to the level, so I'm happy for Seydoux to play the majority of the games. And you think if he can get close to 30 games this season, a lot of these 8s and 9s will turn into 10s very quickly. And given that he is young, we gave him a 2-year deal as well. And Amenko's just a backup deep line playmaker. He doesn't really know the role yet, but that was the position where I actually missed out the player I wanted to get. I wanted to get this young kid from QPR called Frederick Champion. We couldn't get him, so we got Amenko instead, who's an ex-West Brom junior, been without football for a few seasons, but hopefully just being around a club and training even on part-time basis, he can kind of recapture a bit of form. Has a little bit of talent about him, but he's very much a backup. We're not too worried about him. Anyway, that's who I brought in. Let's go through the entire team. I have managed to get 2 players for every position and 2 players for every role within our tactic. James White and Seb Brown, we did talk about them a little bit first. Seb Brown will probably be ahead of James White at the start of the season. Joe Anderson looks like he's going to be an exceptional left back for this level. We brought Daniel Day in as backup there as well. He's already actually an icon of the club despite only being 24. And I love the natural balance that having a left-footed player on the left-hand side gives you. So I think he'll be a very good player for us. Sam Sojo and Kevin Malaga we both spoke about earlier. Sojo will probably be the 3rd choice centre-back, I think, despite being the only player in the group with Premier League experiences. Made 3 appearances for Reading back when he transferred there from Brentford. 35 now, so he isn't the best in the world, but only on £250 a week. I'm happy to take that little hit just to have a more accomplished and experienced, I guess, central defender. Callum McNaughton's an ex-West Ham junior. He'll be a backup defender. He's out for a few months with knee cartilage damage. Hopefully once he gets back to full fitness, his pace can improve a little bit. Still only 22, so I'm happy to keep him around for a little bit. And he's on next to no money. Jack Holland will likely be our first choice central defender. Very talented 22-year-old player. He's on a bit of money because I gave him an extra year on his contract. 9 pace, 9 acceleration. Again, same theory as Seb Brown. If he's playing, close to 30 games this season, you'd expect a lot of these 9s and 8s will turn into double figures very quickly. And I think if we pair him with, like Kevin Malaga or Sam Sojo, they're going to have a lot that they can teach him and continue on from there. So that's the back line. Oh, no, it's not entirely. Paul Rogers will be the backup fullback. Not a terrible player by any stretch, but I think Seydoux has a higher ceiling and more room for improvement. Neither of them are on very much money, so I'm happy to give them both the opportunity to go head-to-head with each other. I probably overpaid a little bit for Seydoux. I think you can get him for cheaper, but I just wanted to make sure I got him more than anything. Bangura, we spoke about earlier. He'll start as that ball-winning midfielder. And behind him, Danny Waldron, who is a stalwart of the club. Really good determination and work rate. Can't really tackle all that well, but it is his favoured role in central midfield. So I'm happy to keep him around as a backup. He's only on a 1-year deal, so we can get rid of him if he's not up to scratch. Reece Prestige will play as a deep line playmaker to start the season. Pretty good passing, pretty good work rate as well. Good natural fitness. Doesn't know the role well, but he has been working on it through pre-season. And if we go to his career history, you can see he scored 12 goals for Bishop Stortford in their midfield last season, 7-7-7 the 3 years before that. So if we can get any sort of like contribution with goals from our deep line playmaker, that would be awesome. And he's pretty good technically as well, so I think he'll take a lot of like the corners and free kicks and things. So it's good to have him there. And of course, Amenku as a backup, purely as a backup. Really, we'd probably play Waldron in that position before we played Amenku, but I like having 2 players for every position. Where are we up to? Daniel Roberts. Daniel Roberts is a product of the Houston Dynamo Youth Academy over in the United States. Then he dropped down, went and played in either North or South Carolina. I have no idea where that is, and Wilmington Hammerheads. Been without a club for just over a year after playing in America, despite him being English and having full English citizenship. We threw a bit of money at him to get him to come back, which he has done, and I think he'll play as our first choice trequartista. Way better than this level, much better player than this level, but we've managed to snag him on a 2-year deal, which is great. And of course, Ishmaeli will be the backup trequartista. He is still learning that position and that role though, so he'll let him continue with that. On the left-hand side, we're very lucky to have some very talented wingers at the club. Moses Adamola will start as the left attacking midfielder. He's right-footed, so he kind of is going to cut in a little bit more, but just electric pace, 15 pace, 14 acceleration, good flair for what is a very creative position, good dribbling. Crossing will need work, as will his passing, but we'll get him working on that throughout the course of the year. I think he'll be a very talented player for this year, and I have worked with him before at Dover. I have played as the Dover manager before while he was there. He's a very talented winger. Behind him will be Mitch Pinnock, who's only 19, just a junior. Come through the ranks at Bromley and has very good technique for someone of that age. He's on next to no money, a 2-year contract. We are training him at the moment to play as an attacking left midfielder, but he's got good dribbling, pretty good free kick taking, not bad technique. His crossing will improve throughout the course of the season, and not bad pace either for a junior, so more than happy to keep him around as a backup player. On the right-hand side, we have Anthony Cook, who looks like he's one of the best players in the entire division. Pace, acceleration through the roof, really good flair, good dribbling. Again, his crossing and passing will need work, but we can get him working on that as the season progresses. And I think both he and Adamola are going to be exceptional wingers for us this season, particularly given the creative importance that comes with a lot of the instructions we attached to the tactic itself. I actually didn't go through the team instructions, did I? So you can see here, it's mainly about just keeping the ball, keeping it on the deck, and playing as wide as possible. It's way more instructions than I'd like to give a team in this division. This is more one that I'd use if I was going to Manchester United or Real Madrid or something like that. However, I'm going to give it a go at this level and just see how it goes. Anyway, the backup for Anthony Cook will be Louis Dennis, just another 21-year-old, relatively young. He's tall, he's 6'2" or something like that, 186 centimetres. Good pace for that level. But really, he's just a backup for that attacking midfielder right spot. And really, we'd probably bring Pinnock on ahead of him if I'm being honest, but more than capable of holding on to him as a backup anyway. Up front, we are blessed with 2 very good strikers, even though we are only playing one out up top. Jordan Robertson is an ex-Sheffield United and Southampton player. He's had a very interesting career, one of which I will go through in a future episode. In many ways, it's very tragic, but also just a pretty incredible story, if I'm being brutally honest. He's returning to England after playing in Gazmatan over in Romania. He's much better than this division. Just technique coming out his ears, pretty good physically, good mental stats, and look at all the 9s. Anything that he doesn't have in double figures, it's either an 8 or a 9. So I think if we can give him 30 games this year, he'll probably work himself into being an exceptional striker. Absolutely comfortable playing at a higher division, but for whatever reason, he's in the Conference South, so I'll take him. And Adam Birchland behind him, who is a player that I absolutely love and adore. I have managed him before at Dover as well, just like Adamola. If we go back to 2011, you can see here, he actually scored over 40 goals that particular season. He won the Conference South Player of the Year. You can see the 34 that he got in the league. He also got more, I think it was about like 8 I think, in the 2 cup competitions. So 40 goals in 50 appearances is exceptional for any player, let alone one at the Conference South. You can see he earned himself the big money move to Gillingham after that, and his career just tailed away. Took him over a season to make an appearance for Gillingham. Then he went back on loan to Dover and Dartford. 3 goals in the last 4 years isn't really that great. He's still 29, so there is still time for him. But if we can get him sort of into that 2011 sort of form, he's going to be excellent. But for the moment, he will just be a backup to Jordan Robertson, but an exceptional backup to have. He's on a lot of money though, so we probably wouldn't look to retain him next season unless he has an amazing year. But we'll see how we go. So that's the team. That's the team that we've put together. We brought in a lot of players. There are a lot of players that were also already signed for the club for their first years, like Birchall and Adamola and Prestige, who we went through. So there are a lot of new players in the team. Now, traditionally, I don't start seasons that well. Let's go through the preseason. So we beat Fleet and Kingstonian, the teams in the division below us, managed to score a fair few goals in each of those games. We lost to Hartlepool, who are our League 2 side. We were actually in that game for quite a bit, ended up losing it 2-1. Though Anthony Cook did get the last goal of the game, we were just very heavily involved. Crystal Palace, we lost 2-0 to them, but they played a really full-strength lineup. It was pretty much the team that you'd expect to start the Premier League season for them. Yednak and Shamak and all those guys were involved. And who was the guy that tore us apart during that game? I can't remember his name. Is it Murray? Yeah, Glenn Murray. Glenn Murray was awesome whenever he came on. He was really good for them. So a 2-0 loss to a Premier League side isn't that bad considering that they are 6 divisions above us, 5 divisions, 6 divisions, whatever it is. And we actually controlled a fair bit of the ball. They had 55 or 56% possession, but we got a good crowd down to our home ground, so that would have been a nice little money spinner for us. Anyway, as I was saying, I don't usually start seasons that well, so if we can get through the opening 10 games of the year with maybe 5 wins, I'd be thrilled with that. It's going to take a while for this tactic to settle in. You can see they are pretty awkward with it. They haven't been working on it that long though, because I did change my mind about what formation I was going to play. And I'm really interested to see exactly how this one's going to go as the season progresses. But anyway, that's the team that we've put together. I've brought in a couple of staff as well. Neil Smith, Hugo Langton, Nick McDonald, they were already at the club, and I just offered them 2-year deals. I brought in Rebecca Brown as a physio. I had to go and ask the board if they'd let me get one. I just want to have someone to work on our injuries. And also, I think looking at that face throughout the course of the season, I'll probably fall in love. That's not why I started this football manager career, but it happens when you least expect it. I brought in Milton and Rooney as my 2 scouts. I hate the way that they've changed the scouting system in this game for this season. I think it's rubbish, and really it's just a waste of time and money. But I've given them 2 assignments. George Rooney's going to continually be scouting our next opposition, and that's just, so we can do our match training according to that. And John Milton is looking for players at the end of their contract. A lot of the players will sign. I'll either be free transfers or end of contract players until we get up towards League 1 and League 2. So I just want them to be 5-star ability so that we can sign those players and take them up to the higher division if we get promoted, which of course we're aiming for. And staff responsibilities, I'm going to hold on to the individual training. Basically that's because for the entire pre-season, all I've had any of my players working on is their roles within the tactic. So for example, Brown was working as a goalkeeper defend, Bangura was working as a ball-winning midfielder. I assigned those for the entire pre-season, just so they're working exactly on the role that we want them to play, and so that they're ready to go and comfortable in the formation come the start of the season. Some players responded well, some players have gone backwards, but that's fine. Whatever you need them to do. I have removed all the player focuses there. There are some players still working on positions, like Mitch Pinnock is still working to be a attacking midfielder left, Louis Dennis on the right-hand side, all that sort of thing. And I am going to leave the individual instructions there for the younger players in the squad. Ishmaeli, I'd like him still working as a trequartista. Who else have we got? Amenku as a deep-lying playmaker. We'll leave it for the juniors because they're not really going to be playing all that much anyway. Nigel Sado, we'll leave his there because I think he's not that comfortable being a fullback. I think he's set to limited fullback for the moment, and we'll do the same with Daniel Day as well. But that's all they've been working on the entire preseason. Nothing else. I've just had them working on their individual roles. I feel like that's the best way to get them ready for the season ahead. Anyway, the structure of the series as we go forward, they're not all going to be as long a video as this one is. I'm going to skip ahead now to the end of August, and you guys can live watch with me the Havant Waterlooville game. I'll play these games and sim them and go through the results from there. But that should bring an end to the first episode of the season. We've covered a lot. We went through the tactics, the training, a little bit of the history of the club, where they've finished in previous seasons, all that sort of thing. Went through the entire playing group, went through our pre-season. Anyway, as I said at the start of the video, I think there is a good series and save to be had somewhere within this game. Hopefully it can be this Bromley one. I'm going to be playing the game regardless of whether I'm uploading the content or not, so I might as well record it and put it up there for you guys to watch. Hope you have enjoyed the first episode of the series. I know we did cover a lot and there wasn't a lot of gameplay or anything in it, but it was important to have that episode. We now have the first episode of the series to go back to. You can go through the tactic in depth and all that sort of thing. You can look at the players who we've signed, where we've signed them from, and all of that. So the next episode out will actually have some games in it, which will be nice and exciting. But more than anything, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate your views. If you have your own YouTube content, be it in Football Manager or any other game, by all means, chuck it in the comment section below. I will go and have a look at it. I will send a like your way if the videos are cool. However, I'm not going to beg you for likes or subscriptions or anything. There's enough YouTube content providers that already do that. More than anything, I appreciate your views. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, which should be Season 1, Episode 2.